All right, 30 seconds to answer your question real quick. Will a night of bad sleep ruin your workout? Short answer, no. Your training performance is probably not going to be affected if you had just a single night of bad sleep. And by the way, that's a big, big if. If we're talking about multiple days of poor sleep, this would definitely affect your training performance and, of course, the gains that you're making. But for the most part, it's mostly your perception of fatigue and motivation that are going to take a hit. But the actual performance, your strength levels, the reps that you're managing usually, and the ways that you're normally being able to lift in the gym will likely remain the same. One big note here, while poor sleep prior to a workout has almost no effect in most situations, getting not enough sleep after a workout, that tends to have more of an impact, mostly on the gains that you're making, not so much the performance. My name is Niki, and basically everything you need to know, you already got it. Feel free to click away. You're probably not going to learn anything new from now on. But if you'd like to stick around, keep in mind that I have plenty of training experience with different clients in different continents, countries, and I'm going to share with you some of the lessons that I've learned working with different people and also share my own experience as well. So why do we sleep? Sleep is super important as it aids different recovery processes that are related to muscle growth and performance, but also it regulates different levels of various hormones. Some hormones that affect growth and repair processes, when you're getting plenty of sleep, they get elevated, but some hormones that are responsible for the complete opposite processes may get elevated when you are being sleep deprived. Good example is catabolic type of hormones that break down muscle tissue for energy. So when you're sleep deprived, lots of bad stuff happens. However, the magnitude of those effects that you're going to experience, it's mostly related to how much sleep you're getting on average and the quality of your sleep. So provided that most of the time you're getting plenty of sleep, which for most people can range anywhere from about 6 to 7 hours all the way up to 9 to 10, depending on your specific requirements. That's a completely different topic, by the way, sleep requirements. So provided you're getting enough sleep, quality sleep, then just a single night, most of the effects that are going to happen are going to be related to your mental state, your perception of fatigue, your motivation, desire to be training, to want to train, and also things like focus and so on. So just mostly the mental aspect of things. That's the first place or the first thing that's going to be affected when you're not getting enough sleep. The more sleep, the less sleep you're getting, the more those effects are going to get more pronounced. So basically, you're going to stop thinking about long-term goals. You're going to start slacking. You're going to be less motivated to be training. Even concentration is going to suffer as well. So you may start wasting too much time in the gym, fooling around, not actually lifting heavy weights. The second thing that you're going to start experiencing, and this takes a little bit more of sleep deprivation, usually not enough for a single night to have any effect, but this is related to your physical performance. So things like strength, endurance, speed, explosiveness, and so on. But for those negative effects to start manifesting, you probably need to be sleep deprived for more than a single night. So even if you get zero sleep, your performance is likely not going to be affected. So just a couple of practical examples here. It really depends on the type of sport that you're involved in. So we're just going to focus now on gym workouts, so bodybuilder type of training. You're there to make some gains, to focus on muscle growth, not so much on lifting very heavy weights. You're not a power lifter, I assume, at least. And you're not involved in CrossFit or other kinds of sports. Okay, things are a little bit different there, and sleep deprivation may have more of an effect on your performance in those situations. But for the most part, something more of a practical example is you go in the gym, you've been sleep deprived, the weights are going to feel heavier. You're going to need a little bit more discipline in order to push through the workout. You're going to need to use a little bit more motivation, maybe a little bit more caffeine. Caffeine, by the way, doesn't give you energy. It just makes it hard for you to realize how beat up you are or how fatigued you are. So just the desire to be training and your perception of fatigue are going to be affected to a huge extent. Performance is still going to be the same. You may find it harder to be lifting the weights, but you may still end up getting the same reps and using the same weights as your previous sessions. So this is basically what happens if you're sleep deprived, even if you get zero sleep. The workout gets harder, but it's mostly in your head. Your muscles are perfectly capable of completing that workout. In some rare situations, and keep in mind these are exceptions, your performance might be affected, but this is mostly relevant for very hard type of training, a very hard week of training, or maybe like professional athletes during some very serious training cycle that they're going through. In which case, or maybe like if you're dieting very aggressively. So if it's the end of your cutting cycle, then even just a little bit of sleep deprivation may affect your recovery because your recovery has already been compromised. You've been training like super hard, you've been doing a lot of work, and every bit of recovery that you can get makes a difference and helps you being able to push through and survive the next workout. In those situations, sleep deprivation may actually affect your performance. But again, this is not true for most recreational lifters. On to the next point. What's the difference between 4 hours of sleep, 6 hours of sleep, or no sleep at all? Short version, the more sleep you're getting, the better your recovery is going to be. And of course, this may affect your performance and your mental state. There is one exception though, in which case you may get more sleep as opposed to a different situation where you got less sleep and actually feel better. This is because of the sleep cycle. So a typical sleep cycle lasts an hour and a half, and then it's kind of like a reset button. You go into a different sleep cycle. So if you wake up in the middle of a sleep cycle, let's say you've been sleeping for 1 hour instead of an hour and a half, then you may wake up groggy, irritated, and really feeling super beat up. Again, it's mostly in your head, it's mostly your mental state that's been affected, and maybe your cognitive performance is also going to be affected, so the ability to concentrate and to do a little bit more complicated tasks. But this is because you woke up right in the middle of deep sleep. So a good example here would be 3 hours of sleep versus 4 hours of sleep, or 3 hours and a half. So 3 hours of sleep, this is 2 complete sleep cycles. So if you wake up just after 3 hours of sleep, you're probably going to feeling, well, only 3 hours of sleep is not enough, but you're probably going to feel more refreshed as opposed to getting 4 hours of sleep, which means you woke up in the middle of a deep sleep and you know how hard it is to get from the bed, and just the day starts very, very bad. Usually this effect tends to last just during the first couple of hours of wakefulness, but keep in mind in certain situations, getting less sleep may have an effect on your performance and just mental state, especially if you train first thing in the morning. If you're getting super solid sleep every time, every night, and this is just more of an exception, one time you get like almost no sleep, for some reason you couldn't sleep, then probably your performance, it's not going to be affected at all. You wouldn't even, not even just performance, but how you think and feel, you're probably not going to feel any difference. But it's an accumulation effect. The less sleep you're getting, the more of an impact this is going to get. And eventually a couple of nights of poor sleep, and especially if the magnitude is higher, so getting almost no sleep, so 2 nights of no sleep, the effects start to stack up. This will start affecting like different bodily systems. Repair and growth processes are going to start getting affected. Also replenishment of different energy resources. So things like glycogen, which allow you to be using your muscles during hard and long workouts. These things stack up very, very, very fast. The last thing is getting no sleep or poor sleep prior to working out versus after workout. So if you have to choose, which in most cases you probably don't have that choice, but to be aware of, before workout, you already know what's going to happen. Like if you didn't get enough sleep, and then you're probably going to still be able to complete your workout. In most situations, the worst thing that's going to happen is that your workout is going to suck, but you're still going to be able to provide enough of a training stimulus for the muscles to grow. Most of the growth is going to happen post-workout. In order to optimize the growth processes, a lot of them, they either happen mostly during sleep time, or for optimal recovery, you need to get a lot of sleep. So there's a huge connection between sleep, the quality and the amount of sleep that you're getting, and the amount of muscle that you're growing. Because the growth process rely heavily on your sleep quality. So that's why if you have an amazing workout, but after this you don't get any sleep at all, or you get poor sleep, this is way bad. And yes, it doesn't affect your performance, but it affects the outcome of what you're trying to achieve, which is muscle growth. And also sleep does help with learning different techniques. So memory, by the way, if you're not getting enough sleep, this is going to affect your memory and how well you're memorizing different things. So when we're talking about sports, this is mostly technique memorization. All right, that's pretty much it. If you've enjoyed this video, you can send me a carrier pigeon with like a handwritten note or something like this. I would really appreciate this. And until next time, cheers.